Peace and blessings, everyone. This is Ray Saghiwala, the Muslim divorce coach, and I support and guide divorced Muslim women to healing and opening the door to a new life of serenity, possibility, and abundance with reliance and certainty in Allah's promise. Today is day 4 of our journey here in our Ramadan reflections of reliance on Allah during divorce. So, what I wanted to talk about today is where else can you turn to when all of the doors are shut? Every single door to you has been slammed shut. Where do you go? Where you'll never be let down or you'll never be abandoned. You see, for me, I lived my whole life believing that people could give me what I wanted and what I needed, and I was reliant and dependent on people in that way. So naturally, I attracted a relationship like that, and I lived in a codependent relationship for so long. But when that was no longer there and no one else could give me what I needed, which really was security, the only option was going back to the source, right? You see, Allah is always there. It is us that strays, that goes far away, but Allah is always there. What does Allah tell us? That He is closer to us than our jugular vein. And really that is how close Allah is to us. So Allah also mentions in the Quran in chapter 93 verse 7, He found you lost and guided you, right? And my divorce was my awakening. And before that, I was really asleep and unconscious. And what do I mean by that? Because I realized that I was praying istikhara about my divorce, searching for the right answer, searching, what do I do? Where do I go? How do I navigate this? But at the same time, I was so afraid to hear the answer. I was afraid to hear and listen to what Allah was telling me. All my fears of being alone or being rejected and all that insecurity that it was bringing up, it came flooding up to me, and it was making me resist what the truth really was inside of me, right? And that's really common again in when we're talking about divorced Muslim women, or that you don't know what's going to happen. You know, like for example, when you're talking about people who are in an abusive relationship, for example, if women who are in an abusive relationship, it takes them all like 5 times to leave that relationship because it's easier and more comfortable to stay in the danger and the harm of what you know, your comfort zone, rather than step out of it. Even though maybe intellectually you know that you don't deserve this and this is not right, and it's safer for you to go out of it, but you know the fears that play out in your mind don't allow you to step out of your comfort zone and make change and go into the unknown, which can feel more scarier than something that's horrible but is known, right? So, you know, what I found so true and comforting and like just beyond the shadow of a doubt was that when Allah tells us in the Quran, and whoever fears Allah, He will make a way out for him and will provide for him from where he does not expect it. And whoever relies on Allah, then He is sufficient for him, right? And Allah tells us this in the surah of divorce. So relying on that, feeling secure in that, it proved to me that that was where I needed to focus on. That was where I needed to go, to a place where I would never be let down. And then understanding through turning to Allah that divorce is not a reflection of my value or my character or my worth, right? It's part of my journey here, you know, in my life, of my life. And what is the purpose of my life, right? It's to serve Allah. It is to be here and serve Allah through serving His creation with my talents and gifts and my calling and my mission. And each of us has that. So it's possible, not just possible, but like, think about it. It's not just belief, but do you really believe it? When someone tells you, and this is not someone, this is Allah, this is the Creator telling us, like, He will start to show you in ways you never thought were possible if you trust in Him. It's that handhold in the dark, at the edge of the cliff. He will never let you down, and you can believe Him when He says, without a shadow of a doubt. I know that certainly for me, He provided for me where I didn't expect, right? Our human mind cannot come up with ways that how things are going to work out, what's going to fall into place, right? I never expected that I would be living the life that I'm living today, to have the courage or the audacity to live my life today, to be my true, authentic self, to live with fearless confidence and do what I'm called to fulfill my mission and my purpose, to live in a space of calm, of inner peace and resilience. That wasn't even in my realm or my world, right? And I was a blind follower, just doing what everyone was telling me to do, and not an independent free thinker that we are called to be. And Allah tells us over and over again in the Quran to think, to ponder, to reflect. And in many places He says, in chapter 59, verse 21, if we had sent down this Quran upon a mountain, you would have seen it humble and coming apart from fear of Allah. And these examples we present to the people that perhaps they will think. Allah's asking us to think. And again in chapter 38, verse 29, this is a blessed book which we have revealed to you, that they might reflect upon its verses, and those of understanding would be reminded. In chapter 38, verse 29, there are so many places in the Quran where Allah is asking us to think and to reflect and to ponder and to be that independent free thinker, rather than what society or people or culture or pop culture, your classmates or your friends or social media are telling you that you should think and believe and do and be. I didn't know that was my birthright, and it's your birthright too, to think, right? And something that happened today really hit home for me with this example is that there's a difference between our brain and our mind. Our mind is connected to Allah. It's a spiritual connection to our soul, whereas our brain is an organ, right, which is also created by Allah. And people really believe, the consensus is that people out there believe that the brain controls everything. And yeah, the brain does control everything in the body, right? But the body is not just organs and meat and flesh and blood and all the things and bones, right? It houses our soul. So there's this consensus that the brain controls everything. It has all the power, right? But where does the brain come from? Who created the brain, right? And people may think, well, it's nature, but who created nature? So when we can go deeper and reflect on things like this, you cannot deny the truth. It's just not possible. And when we know the truth that it's Allah, that's the source, the ultimate source for our success. There's a sense of contentment and peace, and knowing that everything's going to be okay. So what I wanted to share with you today is for you to think and reflect on a time where you were dependent on someone else to achieve something that you wanted, a goal or an outcome, and you were reliant and dependent on them taking some certain action or doing you a favor or helping you in a certain way, right? How did that make you feel, being dependent on someone in such a way? What happened in that situation? What did you learn? Share in our group what you learned and how that situation turned out, whether they came through for you, they didn't come through for you. What was your anxiety like during that process of waiting, hoping, are they going to do it, or they're not going to do it? How is it going to turn out, right? And think about if you can look at it from a different perspective now, or is it really the same? How does it look different for you, right? Have you been trained? Think about yourself, for yourself. And I didn't realize this until I did, until I became aware and conscious of it, that I was trained to be a follower, right? To go along with what everyone else wanted. So think about that for yourself. Where do you fit in? Where do you fit in on that spectrum? Have you been trained to be a follower and just go along to get along, to fit into what everyone else deems is correct, at the expense of silencing yourself and your soul? And what did it cost you? That is my reflection for the day, and my message. And I can't wait to hear your comments, because again, it's so important to surround yourself with people you can learn from and grow from. And I'm really happy to be on this journey with you, and I can't wait to hear your comments and to engage with you. We'll talk to you soon. Take care. Peace and blessings. Assalamu alaikum.